Welcome to Empower Her Radio, the space for powerhouse women ready to step into their next level of abundance, purpose, and personal freedom. I'm Dr. Corey Winn, a high performance coach, doctor of physical therapy, philanthropist, and business consultant. I help ambitious women align with their highest calling, expand their wealth and impact, and create a life that feels as good as it looks. If you're a high achieving woman who's built success yet finds yourself craving more alignment, more purpose, more ease, you're in the right place. Here, we bridge the gap between ambition and fulfillment. Through transformative conversations and proven strategies, you'll gain the courage to step into the fullest expression of you. Build a powerhouse business that aligns with your expertise and divine gifts, and lead your life, both personally and professionally, with unshakable confidence, worthiness, and compassion. This is about expansion, legacy, and owning your power unapologetically. You already have everything inside of you to create a life of unlimited possibility. It's time to unlock it. Welcome to your next level. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Empower Her Radio. We're diving into a conversation that every woman needs to hear today. Whether you're planning a family, struggling with fertility, or just want to understand your body better, this episode will change what you think about fertility, hormones, and reproductive health. Joining me today is Dr. Aumatma Simmons, an award-winning naturopathic doctor, board-certified in endocrinology, two-time best-selling author, and host of Egg Meets Sperm podcast. She's the founder of Fertility, where she helps women uncover their hidden blocks in fertility and create roadmaps for their reproductive health. We're pulling back the curtain on the myths, misconceptions, and medical blind spots that are keeping so many women in the dark about their own fertility. We'll also explore the massive decline in fertility rates, the impact of toxins, and how we can start applying womb wisdom to our health, relationships, and even our businesses. So if you're interested and wondering what your doctor isn't telling you, why infertility is skyrocketing, or how to truly support your hormones, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. Dr. Aumatma, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Winn. Great to be here.
I'm so glad. This is I know going to be such a powerful conversation. So many of us, me included, have struggled with infertility. So how did you get here? Tell us a little bit about your background and what got you interested in this.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's probably been about 14 or 15 years now. I was in a relationship and my husband at the time, wanted to have children. And literally every time he mentioned children, my body was screaming, no. And I was like, crap, we already got married. What does this mean? Right? So here I am, like, I'm getting this like visceral response. And like, I knew that there was something there. Like, I tried to honor my body's intuition. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to ignore that and just override it.
Right.
But why? Like, what am I not understanding? And and then the other side of that was really like what I had learned in medical school was our fertility drops off of a cliff at 35.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, well, if that's true, and I don't want to have children with this guy, then I should really figure out what we're doing because this is not a good scenario. So first I had to like figure out, do I want to have children? And I was never one of those women that was like, oh my God, this is my calling, right? Like I
Uh-huh.
never
Yeah.
knew that to be the case for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I also wasn't like, I don't ever want to have children. It was more like, yeah, if it happens, when it happens, when it's the right time,
Mm-hmm.
with the right person. So all of these things. And I got a clear, like, yes, I want to have children. So as soon as I got clear on that, I was like, okay, I need to figure out how I can support my fertility because 35 is around the corner. Um, so if everything I've learned is true, then I have a problem, like a really
Mm-hmm.
big problem.
Yeah.
And like the dating world and like it had taken us 10 years, like between my previous relationship and then this guy. like finally getting married, finally getting to that point where we could have children, it was 10 years. So I was like,
Mhm.
another 10 years I don't have.
Uh-huh.
So just kind of like my logical math at the time was like,
Yeah.
this is bad news.
Yeah.
And I looked into egg freezing. It was just coming out at the time, right? It was getting popular. People were doing these egg freezing parties. So I was like, okay, could I freeze my eggs? And that was a very like unfortunate thing because I was like, well, no, I can't really afford to freeze my eggs.
Mhm.
And like all of the research shows that it's not that good. Like the science is not to the point where I can rely on this and say, I've got it in the bank,
Mhm.
literally. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, then that's not a solution. What else do I have? So I spent like months, about 9 months in a library, not really, like a room where I could do research. And I
Right. Oh,
had all
yeah.
these books and
Yeah.
internet and literally everything. And I went through hundreds of papers on fertility and like, what can I do to support my fertility? And as soon as I figured out those pieces, I was like, okay, I think I've got it. Like, I feel like I can do this for myself. Like, I can hold on to my eggs long enough to have a child when I decide it's time. And, um, and then I ended up like divorce and all of that. Like, we went through our journey simultaneously,
Uh-huh.
but um, by the time that I was out of that relationship and like back to dating and stuff like that, I had also been talking about what I was finding in the fertility world.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I had tripped on in my research was really like this idea that our fertility drops off of a cliff at 35 comes out of not science, but out of churches in the 1800s in France. So,
Really?
yes. So,
Oh my gosh.
these churches have records of women not coming to baptize their children after they turn 35. So, they pick this like number out of these records that were literally like, you know, fertility must drop off a cliff because after 35, women are not coming to get their children baptized. And I looked at that and I said, okay, what was happening in the 1800s in France? So I went into like history to try and figure out what was the scenario there. And what I found was like, wait, women, the average expected life expectancy of a woman in the 1800s was 30.
Yeah.
So of course they weren't having children at 35. What? So as soon as I like put those pieces together, I was like, wait, so everything that we believe in the fertility world is on this foundation of 35 is the cutoff. But if that's not the cutoff, and then simultaneously there are records of women in different parts of the world having children well into their 60s. Not that I want to have a child in my 60s, but you can, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of those cultures have life expectancies of women well into their hundreds. So it makes sense for them, may not make sense for us. But I was like, if that's possible for a human female to do, then what are we missing? Like, what is
Mhm.
our culture missing that we think that our fertility drops off of a cliff at 35? So,
Well, and I just, from being in the medical field and hearing, I mean, I got pregnant with my daughter at 30. And
mhm.
even then, it was like, well, 35 is geriatric pregnancy. So if you guys are thinking that you might want to have more, like probably, and I'm thinking,
Do it
I
now.
am just pregnant with the first one. Like, hold on,
Yeah.
slow this train. I don't know if I'm gonna have any more. Like, and I thought, in this world of where we're working on improving our life and longevity and this like hard stop of, well, you better have kids before 35. It's like,
hmm
and
Yeah.
and just in and of that myth that we are now learning about,
Mhm.
how many women find stress in that number and are so worried, well, if I don't get pregnant before 35, it's never going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that was the like as soon as I tripped on that, I was like, "Oh my God, the whole world is open to me."
Yes.
Because now I'm no longer stuck at this like 35, which is right around the corner. But if I can say, "Hey, it's not 35, it's maybe 38 or 40." Now I've given myself extra time where I don't have to stress about it.
Hmm.
And that alone is a game changer, right?
Hmm.
So I was sharing about that with women that were around me, like my
Right.
friends, my patients, and they were like, "Wait, what? I didn't know that. Why didn't I know
Uh-huh.
this?"
Yes.
And and then like it was like a snowball a little bit. Like before I knew it, people were like, "Hey, you can help me get pregnant." And I was like, "No, I've literally not helped anyone ever. This is all theoretical and I'm just applying it on myself." And they
Case
were like,
study
"No,
N
but
of one.
yeah, right." And I haven't even had a child yet. So there's that. So I really like there were not many doctors in that time that were talking about it this way.
Hmm.
And I looked into it because I wanted to refer people that were coming to me and I was like, who can I refer them to? And I found a bunch of like naturally oriented, functionally oriented doctors,
Hmm.
but they were also all just saying we can improve your egg quality to have better IVF cycles. And I was like, but wow, we have just like, we have so much more that we could offer. Why is that the only thing that we're doing?
Uh-huh.
Um, so I started having all of these people that were like, but you can help me. Why aren't you helping me? And I was like, yeah, I guess I could. We could try it, you know? Um, and they would get like start getting pregnant, and I was like, oh shit, this is working. Like, oh, it's not theory, it actually works. So I kind of like landed in this world, like mostly on a trip and trying to help myself. And I did have a child at 38 with the right person.
Wow.
So it eventually happened for me. It was much later than, would have been expected. And like what's really crazy to me is that the trends are moving opposite of what we would think. So to me, I'm like, well, we know that this is a myth. I've talked to REs that know that this is a myth, right? Like they have come to the same conclusion. Like, yeah, we
Uh-huh.
traced it back to these churches. But
Uh-huh.
um then why isn't it changing our philosophies? Why isn't it changing how we approach what's happening in the world? And younger and younger women are coming to me like, "Oh, my doctor said I'm 32 and that's why we can't get pregnant. That's why they're not getting any good eggs." And I'm like, "That's impossible."
Mhm.
Like it's legitimately impossible. Like your age is not the reason why you're not getting good eggs, right? And like to me, the age thing is just so disempowering because you can't do anything about your chronological age. You are whatever age you are, and
Right.
it's kind of arbitrary, right? And
Uh-huh.
and like
Yeah.
it when you go to a doctor who says that, A, you feel like crap, I waited too long, so it's my fault. And
Right.
then simultaneously, it's my fault, but I can't do anything about it.
Uh-huh.
So really like we need a new frame on how we think about fertility. And for me, that frame has become science, like actual real science,
Uh-huh.
uh, which is lab tests, uh, lab values, really understanding like what do these hormones mean? What are they
Mhm.
doing in our bodies and how are they impacting fertility? And if we can look at it from that lens more than like age, then we have a different way to approach what we can do about it. So if we can't use the age frame, then what frame do we use? And for me, I'm like already a data-driven scientific person, so
Uh-huh.
I'm like, well, let's use that frame. Like that makes mo way more sense to me
Uh-huh.
than an arbitrary number of what when I was born.
Yeah.
Um, and the hormones are literally like signaling compounds. They're like telling each part of our cycle what's happening in this part.
Hmm.
So as soon as we break those down, then we can be like, oh, well, I can do something about it. Because
Hmm.
even if I'm 38, like I have the ability to fix my hormones. I can't reverse my age, but I can fix
Right.
my hormones. And
Well, and
now,
I, sorry, go
sorry, and
ahead.
I'll just add this one last piece. We're getting to the point where we understand that biological age might differ from our chronological age,
Hmm.
and biological age is reversible.
Hmm.
So we've started this kind of tracking now where we have women whose biological age we have reversed, and that's really fun. That's like,
Yeah.
look, you started at 40 and now you're 37. That's amazing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, yeah. So we're getting to where science is getting a little bit more um refined, and we're learning like, oh, there's more to our bodies than the year of our birth.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, and I love all of this so much, but I just want to go back for just a second
Yeah.
and really honor you for listening to your body. And so many of our of the clients that I work with, so many of my friends and peers and colleagues, we have lived in a life of, well, I should do this and I should do this and I should do
Mhm.
this. I don't know why I'm feeling this way, but just push through.
Mhm.
So stepping back and listening to the fact that your body was like, no, we're not
Mhm.
doing this right now. And giving our listeners permission to follow that, you know?
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean necessarily for everyone that you're going to go out and get a divorce tomorrow. I mean,
Mhm.
but that may be your body saying, okay, something is not right in this moment.
Mhm.
It could be relational, it could be health, it could be hormonal, it could be
Yes.
any number of things. It could be
Yeah.
stress, work-life balance, it could be, but give yourself the permission to listen to your body and then find a doctor like you who's going to then listen to them when they come and say, this is what I'm finding.
Yeah.
You know, you're now telling me that it's not because I'm over 35. What is it then? So tell
Mhm.
us, you know, the myths and misconceptions and what you are finding that are kind of the lead causes of infertility right now.
Yeah. Well, so the leading causes, I would say, like there is maybe like one that we could like kind of dwindle it all into, which
Mm-hmm.
is whether or not our body feels physiologically, mentally, emotionally, physically safe. And
Oh, that
if
feels
there
powerful.
isn't, yeah, yeah, like on every level, it's safety. And our, this is actually my TED Talk. So it is like our body is constantly deciding whether or not it is safe. And in safety, we can do growth and reproduction.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's threat, we shut down reproduction and move into survival. But the problem is that the threat detection system, which is our reproductive system, is literally getting signals of threat from every direction,
Right.
right? So it's like our environment, the toxins in our environment, it's the EMFs, it's the constant dinging on my phone that has me like tweak every time I hear it. It's the constant like, oh my God, I have 45 emails in 1 hour. What am I doing? Um, we have so many of these things coming at us so quickly. So I think that we've like categorized it as stress, but I think that it's more fundamental than that. It's like, yes, it's stress. And yes, like if we could just eliminate all the stress, we would be fine.
Uh-huh.
But eh, but it's in this like feeling of safety that we can like our body and our reproductive system says, oh, okay, I can reproduce now because it's safe. And
Mm-hmm.
it's looking out for ourselves. So our survival first, and then it's also looking out for the future baby's survival.
Hmm.
So when it decides it's not safe, it's actually a protective mechanism. It's not something gone wrong. It's actually something gone really, really right. And we just need to figure out how to finesse it into the safety response.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
absolutely it does. Because arguably, evolutionarily, we were designed to run from saber-toothed tigers and things
Yes.
going to kill us.
Yeah.
And we haven't gotten that far from that brain reaction, body reaction, that fight or flight response. But
Yes.
like you said, it's our cell phones, it's road rage, it's the next project at work that's due, it's your
Yeah.
to-do list, it's your kids. So that abnormal stress response is so heightened all the time.
Hmm.
So when you have a woman come in to your clinic to see you, what are some of the first things that you want to check and want to look into? What are some things that maybe a lot of your patients, nobody's ever talked with them about?
Yeah, I think this like piece around safety comes up a lot for us, and we look at it on several different levels. So the first, and I'll always keep kind of going back to the hormones because our hormones are the threat detection system, if we want to call it that, right? Like the for example, there is a lot of people that I've seen that have a follicle stimulating hormone. That's one hormone in this like pathway of hormones that we have throughout the course of the month. It's one hormone that is supposed to be triggering the making of follicles in the ovaries.
Hmm.
When that number is above 20, we're considered to be in menopause.
Okay.
However, I have seen a lot of women who are in their hundreds. The FSH is like 158. And the first time I saw it, I remember her so clearly in my head. She came in and she was like, "No one else can help me. I don't understand. I still have eggs in my ovaries, but every doctor I've talked to is like, I need an egg donor. This is never going to happen. I'm in menopause, but I have a cycle. Like, I'm so confused."
Uh-huh.
Right? And like, I'm digging into her history, and I just like, I was so new. I was like, I don't actually know what's happening for you. So I just keep asking questions. And what I figured out was that 3 years prior, um, she was now 43. 3 years prior to that, they had started to try to have a baby. They bought a house that like had potentially had mold,
Oh God.
and simultaneously one of her parents passed away.
Oh
All
wow.
three at the same time. And I was like, oh, and then to add to that, her husband lost his job and he was like trying to make it work, but she was kind of like the breadwinner, right? So she couldn't process her grief. She had to put it to the side. Like, how do I get to work? I just need to make money.
Right,
So,
right.
like you can imagine the level of quote unquote stress, but like every part of her life is telling her it's not safe and we need to be in
Right.
survival.
Yes.
Simultaneously trying to have this child. She's been through multiple rounds of IVF back to back to back, which is yet another place. It was like, it's not safe. I mean, giving
Uh-huh.
pills and like taking hormones is not safe. So we're adding to this layer. So I listened to her story and I was like, I have a theory about this. I don't know if it's actually going to work, but I feel like all of this kind of triggered simultaneously and put you into this overwhelming stress state, which is what is causing the FSH to be crazy high.
Hmm.
So let's retrain your nervous system, right? Like, let's just go through and like go through all the layers.
Hmm.
And it was about 3 months. Her FSH is down to a 12, which is not ideal still, but wow,
Yeah.
she's not
From what did you
menopausal.
say? 128 to 12? Yeah, that's a pretty drastic drop.
Yeah, and that's like 3 months of work, right? So I'm like, okay, we're moving in the right direction. And she's she's like still stressed because she's 43 and everything she's been told is like not good.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we just kept working on it, working on it, working on it. Her hormones got better, her cycles improved. And then it was maybe like another 2 months and they were pregnant without IVF, without anything else. And her FSH was still like a little on the high side. So I was like, oh, I don't know, it's a little nerve-wracking. But that was enough for her body to like have shut off that like we're constantly under threat and survival
Mm-hmm.
into safety. And like I didn't know this at the time. I've done so many more trainings now, but FSH is one of the hormones that is going to elevate in response to early threat. So our body goes into an alpha sympathetic state, it releases a whole bunch of FSH. And I was like, holy shit, I didn't know that. I didn't know
Yeah.
that 15 years ago. I know it
Yeah.
now. Um, but like our bodies are like trying to self-regulate,
Mm-hmm.
and our job is to listen, right? Like I see my job as like, how do I listen? How do I make sense of your story
Mm-hmm.
in the context of, does your body feel safe or does it feel like it's in threat and survival? And
Oh,
if it's in threat and survival, my only job is to help you shift back into safety.
I hope you're loving this episode. I just want to pop in and share something that could completely transform the way you think about building your business, aligning your sales with your mission and vision, and scaling your impact both personally and professionally. I want to share a free training, The Four Quadrants of Quantum Sales Growth, from the She Sells team. For entrepreneurs, sales professionals, and anyone building an empire who wants to sell in full alignment, attract high level clients with ease, and create exponential growth without pressure or burnout. This isn't about outdated sales tactics. It's about energetically aligning with your next level of success and stepping into a business that feels abundant, effortless, and scalable. If you're ready to uplevel your sales strategy, expand your reach, and quantum leap your results, grab your free copy now at www.elisearcher.com/CoreyWin. Now, let's get back to the episode.
We have a woman right now who's 38. She's been through three different naturopathic doctors. The last naturopathic doctor referred her to me, and she's a fertility specialist. So I'm talking to her like, what else am I going to do for you? And she's like, I don't know, but she referred me to you. So maybe we should try it. Um, and she's like 4.5 months in, but her threat responses were completely different. So yes, she works a lot. She's got a business and a she has her own business with her husband that they're trying to grow, and she has a job. And the job is like kind of taxing and not great for her.
Uh-huh.
Um, so that was part of it. And like I could have said, quit your job, but
Uh-huh.
to me, I'm like, well, we could quit and go live in a bubble, but that doesn't always work.
Uh-huh.
We still gonna need to do the work to regulate the nervous system. So instead, we start regulating the nervous system. And for her, the other biggest threat signal was she was skipping meals. So she created this like insulin resistance scenario, blood sugars on a roller coaster.
Uh-huh.
Um, so we start there. We stabilized her blood sugar. We stabilized her sleep. We stabilized like the things that she has control over
Mm-hmm.
that are really good ways for her body to get the signal like, yes, I'm okay enough to like sleep 8 hours a day, eat regular meals. I'm not running from tigers and lions all day, right?
Right.
Like, let's get the basic signals dialed in. Which seems so obvious, but this is what we do.
Yep. Yeah.
And and then we started regulating her hormones, which like her cycles have always been normal, but it for us it didn't look like she was ovulating. So I was like, you've worked with all these doctors, you've been doing the tracking. I don't understand because it doesn't look like you're ovulating.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, well, I don't know. I think I'm ovulating. And I was like, well, I don't think you are because of this
Yeah.
data. Right.
Yeah.
So, in my mind, that's what I was thinking. But I was like, I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to like do what we need to tinker with. So we're doing the tinkering. And within so she's now on her fourth cycle. And we see an actual spike for ovulation. We see an actual spike for progesterone. The progesterone sustains the whole like 12 days. And I was like, oh, you ovulated this month. And she's like, I thought I was pregnant. Like, I've never seen a progesterone this high. And I was like, no, this is the normal. Like, this is what
Uh-huh.
it should have looked like for the entire time you've been doing this. And she's like, holy shit. Like, it's never looked like that.
Yeah.
And and I was like, yeah, like your body isn't making progesterone if it doesn't ovulate. Like very simple. But like all of these other providers had been like, well, you have a regular cycle. Like we don't care about ovulation. You have a regular cycle, so you must be ovulating. Um, so it's really like all of these different layers that we're trying to sort through to try and find like what is the thing that is for this person the threat system turned
Mhm.
on, and how do we dial it down, and how do we turn it into safety in as many layers as we can.
Well, and
um
I just, this conversation is so powerful because I feel like so many women can resonate with being dismissed in the healthcare realm, whether it's, well, we've done all we can do, or, go back and try again. So it's so incredible to talk with you about this because I think it's going to give so many women hope of like, wait a second, there's more layers to this. And they don't have to be medical experts, but even to be able to listen to this episode, follow you on social, listen to your podcast, and then be able to go to their doctor and say, we haven't looked at this. Can we look
hmm
at this? Can you
hmm
send me to somebody who can help me look at this?
yeah.
Um, you talk too about toxins and other things that
Yes.
we can control in our lives. Can you speak
hmm
a little bit to that and nutrition for a
Yeah.
bit so that we can
Yeah,
kind of get
absolutely.
some
I
ideas
think,
there?
yeah, totally. I think those are great. Like everyone should be just going out and doing it. I don't care if you're trying to get pregnant or not, because
I know I'm sitting here
these
eager, like, okay, what else can I work on?
I think there are a few things that we could all do.
Hmm.
And toxins is one of them. Toxins are things that are in our lives that we actually have a lot of control over. Yes, it takes a little bit of effort, and yes, it takes a little bit more money, but probably not as much as you think, you know?
Uh-huh.
You could, like, my house cleaner would have me go out and buy every single, like, natural product I want to use for every single. I'm like, dude, here's a bottle of vinegar and baking soda. Use it wherever you like. She's like, but the floors? I'm like, yeah, use it on the floor too. It works. Works everywhere. Um, so like toxins are a big one. I think for fertility, the biggest toxins are glyphosates. I'm really big on people changing out their pads and tampons. Ideally, that we don't use them at all
Okay.
because the amount of glyphosate that's sprayed on cotton plants is really extensive.
Okay.
And it's a really quick way to like impact your menstrual cycle, the safety signal, because you're not now putting something in your vagina that's causing a reaction, and like you're helping the planet in the process. So menstrual
Well,
cups,
so
the
okay,
way to
that was
go.
well,
Yeah.
and so for me, this is a great question because my daughter is 9 and we're like embarking on this, and I know enough to be very ignorant in this realm of things and thinking what I used to use growing up and all of the chemicals. And I was like searching yesterday and I thought, oh man, I just opened up a bag of worms here because there's so many choices now. I'm like, I don't even know what half of this stuff is. But,
Yeah.
because I've had an IUD for years, I don't really cycle that much anymore.
hmm hmm
But so in layman's terms, get rid of your pads and tampons and go for a menstrual cup.
Which
Are
would
they
co-
silicone based? Where would you recommend
I
finding
I
them?
believe they're silicone or latex, like medical grade silicone is what we're
Okay.
looking for. The disposable ones are scary because they're plastic. So now we're
Oh,
like, oh my God, we're putting plastic in our vaginas. That's
oh
bad.
gosh. Let's not do.
Um, so don't do the disposable. Just get a high quality, replaceable, like reusable one that you
Okay.
just wash out.
Okay.
Um, so that one's easy. Get rid of
Mhm.
that. Like most women will see about a 70 to 80% decline in cramps from this one change.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I remember my cramps were so horrific when I was younger. I need to be
Right.
taking notes.
Isn't that crazy? Like 70 to 80% of people, or like almost everyone that makes this shift comes back and is like, my cramps are so much better.
Oh my gosh.
So that's easy. The second one is phthalates. And phthalates are going into all of the things that have fragrance. And
Okay.
so you can look at your household cleaning products. You can look at even companies that claim that they're clean, like Myers,
Hmm.
uses fragrance now. They used to use essential oils. Um, so anywhere that you read a label and it says fragrance, do not buy it. There,
Okay.
it has to be an alternative. Candles, uh, like those plug-in air
Oh
fresheners,
yeah.
all
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the
yeah.
things, right? Even there is, I don't understand this, but there's makeup that has fragrance. Like, why? I don't
I was wait,
understand why
why?
you're, I don't get it. Hair stuff, like all of it. Just go through every part of your house and like read the label. If it says fragrance, get rid of it.
Okay.
Um, Sometimes they'll try to code it as natural fragrance. It's still a
Uh-huh.
fragrance.
Uh-huh.
Like not helping me that much.
Uh-huh.
So the phthalates really affect our hormones.
Hmm.
Um, and again, like they're kind of low-hanging fruit. We can get rid of it relatively quickly.
Yeah.
And then plastic is the last one. So plastic in our like cleaning products in our sorry, not cleaning. I mean, yeah, cleaning products come in plastic, but I
Right.
mean like containers and stuff we put our food in, our drinking bottles.
Hmm.
Don't buy bottled water that's plastic or
Hmm.
aluminum.
Hmm.
And like there, I just was doing some research yesterday and like trying to figure out why this brand of water has become so popular, the Liquid Death. I'm like, what is special about this water? Like, why are people paying so much for non-filtered, non-special water in an aluminum can? I don't get it. But, sidebar. So yeah, so getting rid of the plastic and then we could like the next level would be like pots and pans that are coated with the nonstick stuff that's also plastic in some way.
Okay.
Um and then our clothing which which tends to be like a constant query for me because I'm like, what do I wear if I don't wear
Yeah.
plastic?
Uh-huh.
All of our clothing is plastic. So it like polyester, elastase, it's all like plastic derivatives. So the the clothing and fashion stuff is like kind of a challenge even for me. So
When you think about it's up against your skin,
yeah.
which is porous.
Yes,
So
your
for
skin is
all of you
porous.
non-medical, like this is not at all to insult your intelligence, but so much is absorbed through your skin
Mm-hmm.
that we don't think about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you have any like clothing brands that you found are better than others or anything like definitely change out your underwear, start there, things like that.
Yes, I think underwear is really easy to start with because you can get 100% organic cotton underwear.
Hmm.
Done. You can even find like different types if you like, some people
Uh-huh.
prefer thongs or whatever. Like you can find
Yeah.
organic cotton of those types. Um, there is like yoga clothing gets a really like is kind of on the chopping block because not only is it plastic, it's tight and we
Mhm.
sweat in it. So
Uh-huh.
that's a good one to switch out quickly if you can.
Uh-huh.
So there is organic cotton. There's a brand that makes organic cotton yoga pants and yoga wear and all that.
Okay.
It's not coming to me.
That's
It's
okay.
not, the brand's not coming to me, but I can find out.
Just say we can
Uh,
put it in the show
yeah,
notes.
we can put it in there. Yeah. So that those are easy. And then honestly, like I look a lot for linen clothes. So this is linen,
Hmm.
100% linen.
Hmm.
And linen is fabric.
Hmm.
Um, and if it's 100% linen, then hey, that's great. That's a sneaky way to bypass the whole plastic situation because like when I look for organic cotton clothing or hemp clothing, there you automatically look like a hippie and that may not be your style. So I get it. I'm like that one's hard for me. It's still
Yeah.
hard for me because I'm
Yeah.
like, but I want to look cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
So linen has been a friend for me. Like I can get away with a lot of stuff in linen that still looks good and is fitted and like has the nice fit that I like.
Hmm.
But it's not plastic.
Yeah.
And it's until we're not at the tipping point yet with the clothing. So once we get to that tipping point, then there's going to be enough demand that companies are starting to switch over.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're at that point yet.
Yeah.
So that's just the toxins. The
Yeah.
second thing is high quality nutrition
Hmm.
and like a well-balanced diet. And then what I'll say about nutrition is like you've probably heard this a million times. Start with protein in the morning. Make
Hmm.
sure you have protein, adequate protein throughout the day, and you are eating your meals about every like 4-ish hours.
Hmm.
So, eating breakfast within 30 minutes of waking up, and then every 4 hours you're eating a meal, not a
Hmm.
snack, a meal.
Hmm.
Um, So about like making sure you're getting adequate meals throughout the day, and then you stop eating when the sun sets ish,
Okay.
um, so that you can be ready for nighttime. So that's kind of the ideal flow with nutrition, and then getting a variety of colors and fruits and vegetables and all of that. The number of people that I'm seeing lately with like, oh, I'm on a carnivore diet, and I'm like, oh my God, ah, this is like not we have never evolved to only eat meat. Like that's just never been a thing.
Uh-huh.
And we've proven over and over again that that's not a good healthy diet. So I don't get this. I don't get this trend. But it's
Because
the
just
popular
because
trend.
there's so many like arrows being thrown at everybody, literally, do this, don't do this. Wait, now do this, don't do this. So it's
Yeah.
just
So they're
overwhelming.
like, I'll just eat meat and call it a day. That seems like a good idea. We're gonna wake up out of that soon, I hope.
Yeah.
Um, but we have a lot of guys that are especially carnivore and their like liver enzymes are off the charts. And I'm like, well, it's not surprising. You're not eating any vegetables. Your
Hmm.
microbiome is wrecked. Like, you're not eating any vegetables.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, but I can't eat vegetables. I'm like, yeah, because you've only eaten meat for 3 years. Your gut is wrecked.
Yeah.
So it's gonna take a while to fix all of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's gonna be baby steps. We have one guy that can eat like a small piece of a cucumber every single day.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's it. Like that's what his body can tolerate. And I'm like, oh my God, we have to get you up to 8 vegetables a day. How is this
Well,
gonna work?
and I'm so glad that you mentioned about gut health too, because from a PT standpoint, I worked a long time with people with progressive neurological diseases. And there's
Mm,
so much coming out about gut health and how that can affect diagnoses, reduction
mm,
of symptoms or prevention of things.
mm,
So That's a whole nother topic for another
Yeah.
day. But
Yeah, for sure.
there is so much left for us to talk about, and I'm so thankful that you are here today. I want to make sure that everybody knows where they can follow you, how they can get in touch with you, what
Yeah.
resources you have. So tell everybody,
Yeah.
we'll have it in the show notes too,
It,
but
the best place to follow me is at Holistic Fertility Doctor on Instagram. We
okay.
have a TikTok. If you're on TikTok, same at Holistic Fertility Doctor. And then our website is holisticfertilityinstitute.com as well as madrefertility.com. Um, so Madre is kind of like the DIY version of everything. So
Uh-huh.
there's a lot like if you're just starting out, you're just like, I don't know if I need to talk to someone yet. I just want to like get a sense of what's happening. That's that's where you want to go. Madrefertility.com. And then
Awesome.
Holistic Fertility Institute, if you're like, I've been doing this for way too long, somebody please help me, then Holistic Fertility Institute.
I love it. Well, be sure to listen to Dr. Omatra on the Egg Meet Sperm podcast and stay tuned because we're going to have her back to talk more about nutrition, fertility, energy cycles, and hormonal changes postpartum and into perimenopause. So, thank you
Yay.
so much for coming on the show today, and I can't wait to hear
So fun.
more
Thank
things.
you, Dr. Winn, for having me.
Yeah. As we close out today's episode, I want to leave you with this. Your next level is already within you. If you're feeling that pull for more clarity, more alignment, and more courage to step fully into who you're meant to be, this is your invitation to take the next step. Whether you're an entrepreneur ready to scale or a woman standing at the edge of something bigger, the path forward starts with trusting your desires, owning your worth, and leading with your inner knowing. This is exactly what I offer. Private VIP coaching, and where I guide women inside the 10K Club and 50K Club through consulting with She Sells and Superhuman Selling to help you gain clarity, step into aligned action, and build a life and business that reflects your highest vision. If you're ready to explore what's next, let's have a conversation. Book a free call now at www.corywin.com/free call. I can't wait to connect with you. Talk soon.